Terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada saudara pengatur acara majlis yang saya hormati Perdana Menteri Malaysia Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, yang berhormat Ahli Jemaah Menteri, yang berbahagia Ketua Setiausaha Negara, Tuan-tuan yang terutama Duta dan perwakilan asing, tuan-tuan puan-puan yang saya hormati sekalian. Selamat pagi dan salam Malaysia Madani. Tuan-tuan puan-puan sekalian, hari ini 12 hari bulan Disember 2024. Hari yang cukup bermakna untuk Kementerian Digital kerana hari ini genap 1 tahun Kementerian Digital ditubuhkan. Jadi sudah setahun setelah saya menerima panggilan daripada Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri untuk melihat kepada keperluan Malaysia menubuhkan satu agensi kerajaan, yakni satu kementerian untuk melihat kepada keperluan negara, buat menyediakan kita untuk zaman teknologi yang baru. Ini cukup penting dan saya rasa ini satu tindakan dan langkah yang cukup berani yang diambil oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri kerana beliau ada visi yang cukup jauh ke depan berkenaan dengan apakah seharusnya menjadi hala tuju negara kita membuat persediaan untuk teknologi baru. Ladies and gentlemen, today is the 12th of December 2024, a very important day for the Ministry of Digital. It is 1 year today. It marks our first year anniversary. 12 December 2023, the Ministry of Digital was set up. It was a brave decision on part of the Prime Minister at that point in time, thinking about the future of our country, looking at the developments around us, both regionally and also globally, and asking that hard question as to whether or not we are ready, and how it is we can ready ourselves to ensure that we become a country that is AI efficient and we can partake in this journey called digital transformation and, of course, look forward to the digital economy of the future. The numbers speak for themselves. If we look at the potential, or the economic potential that McKinsey says ASEAN alone will have moving towards 2030 with new technology, it is estimated the digital economy will unlock an economic potential of almost $2 trillion moving towards 2030. And this just in ASEAN. We have to ask ourselves, are we able to take part in this incredible journey ahead of us? Are we able to ready our people so that they too can look forward to how it is they can benefit from this new economy? When we think about it, we realize that it is not an option. It is a necessity. Because if we do not prepare ourselves, if we are not capable of moving forward with the times, then we get left behind. Our friends around us move ahead, and that would be a divide that we, in future, may not be able to correct. So the future is now. We must take steps to ensure that we ready our country and its people for the challenges of the digital world ahead. Now, when we speak about digitalization, we speak about key pillars that need focus. The first, infrastructure. And then you have to look at security. And the third, talent. And let me, Prime Minister, explain why it is I have listed them in that order. First, in order for us to encourage innovation, to attract investment, to also build confidence in the rest of the world that we are on par with what is required in terms of thinking ahead, we must ensure that Malaysia is adequately connected. This journey did not just begin in 2023 for me. Prime Minister, in 2018, when I was Minister of Communications, Multimedia, we launched the NFCP initiative. At that point in time, we were looking at 4G, moving towards 5G. The question was, how do we ensure that we can scale it so that every Malaysian no matter who you were, no matter where you were, notwithstanding the circumstances you found yourself in, whether you were in the city or whether you were in the rural outskirts of Malaysia, you still had access to connectivity. There was a need for us to take that bold step to tell the telcos, for example, that we needed to scale. Yes, we looked at how the world was developing fast. The question was whether we could bring Malaysians to a global stage. And of course, with 30 million people, that posed a huge problem. But we could do the reverse. We could bring the world to each and every Malaysian if we provided them with the power of connectivity and a smart device in their hands. So as government, there was that responsibility on our part to ensure that we got the telcos to work with us, to reduce the prices of connectivity, internet. Increase speeds, quality was key. At that point of time, there were discussions, fierce discussions with the telcos, because they looked at it as an initiative that would dent their commercial viability. But to me, it was about scale. Economics of scale will tell you that if more people use your products, then you have more to gain from it. And that's how it unfolded. We launched the double the speed, half the price, Prime Minister. That initiative saw a huge increase in uptake. Today we have 98% connectivity of 4G, 82% of 5G, almost 8 million households connected. And we are looking to see how it is we can connect businesses so that they too can be empowered to take part in this incredible journey we foresee ahead of us. But Mr. Prime Minister, it is just not about connectivity alone. Infrastructure today moves beyond that. Infrastructure today means that we have to look at next generation technology. We have to understand the impact of AI. We have to understand the impact of generative AI. And in all of this, we have to understand the huge impact of data on our daily lives moving ahead. This is the reason why, when the Ministry of Digital was set up, we took it upon ourselves to engage with industry. Many of you are here today, and I must thank you for giving me your open and frank views as to what it is we need to do. Yes, criticisms came forward, I think reasonable criticisms. The general thinking was that we needed to make sure that we had the infrastructure that would encourage, inspire Malaysians to come on board this journey ahead. This is the reason why the Prime Minister, who has taken initiative to move around the world, to look at what's happening around the world globally, Prime Minister comes up with very clear policies. He understands, ladies and gentlemen, this Prime Minister understands what needs to be done. And I'll tell you this, in 2018, I had the occasion of attending an event with the Prime Minister in Astro. I remember that was a live event in Malaysia. The Prime Minister came on stage, of course, me being a new minister at that point in time. He asked me whether I was ready. And I said to him, we're never sure. We have to get on stage and just do it. And that was a very important occasion, which still today reminds me of how far ahead Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim had his sights in terms of technology. And we see it today. An industrious man traveling the world, understanding what countries across the globe have done to empower their people so that they can become leaders in technology. We too in Malaysia have that vision. Policy is required so that we can build ecosystems upon which technology develops in our country. Were we ready? We were to a certain extent, but there was so much more to be done. In his first year in office, the Prime Minister outlined policies that would encourage investments by global giants here in Malaysia. The NIMP, the NETR, and today we have with us Tengku Zafrul, MITI Minister. I must also congratulate him because he too has a large role to play in these policies. What do these policies do? They provide clarity which attract investments. And so after that, in February this year, in a trip to San Jose, certain arrangements made with NVIDIA, we came back to Malaysia and we found that there was a lot of interest generated by global players, the Microsofts, the AWS, Oracle, Google. They decided that Malaysia is a destination of investment of theirs in this region. Big sums of money put here in Malaysia. So we have to ask ourselves, having attracted that kind of interest, having spoken about what we see as the vision ahead, chairing ASEAN next year, what next? Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in this room here understands that AI will change everything. If we have the infrastructure, we have data centers, we have properly assessed the energy needs that it requires, the water needs that it requires, states working with us together to make processes more efficient so that we can bring in those investments quickly, then we move fast. But whilst we move ahead, we must make sure that we have an agency that looks to what we need next. This is why, Ahmad Mohamad Prime Minister, the idea of the National AI Office came up. We need to think about what we need to do next. So it's a question of infrastructure, and once you have that infrastructure and policies that support ecosystems around it, you need to now think about how it is you can encourage and inspire people to come on board. No one will use a platform unless he or she is assured that it's safe. So this is why in the last 1 year, Yang Amat Berhormat, my ministry focused, and of course, taking on the good work of your office, focused on tabling the cybersecurity bill, which was gazetted in August. It came into force in August. The cybersecurity bill to ensure that agencies that hold data, critical information infrastructure, have facilities or cybersecurity in it, which is consistent with the requirements of global players. Now, once you do that, you build that confidence. Then you move ahead. In July this year, we went about amending the Personal Data Protection Act. And, ladies and gentlemen, as we speak today, in Parliament this afternoon, we debate the data sharing bill. So 3 pieces of legislation in a year, which helps us build infrastructure, an ecosystem that will encourage, attract, and inspire people to look at Malaysia as a country that leads in this area as we move ahead. AI will impact all industries. Health. We know that with data and with sufficient analysis of it, quick analysis of it, we'll be able to take steps to solve problems like never before. We'll be able to tell what kind of diseases we foresee ahead and how we need to deal with it now. You will not need to have as many people suffer because we have already predicted where we will be in 10 years' time. And in order to avoid the problems of then, we take steps now. That is the power of AI. In agriculture, we look at how it is we can ensure that palm oil plantations, for example, take all the right steps from the start so there's no wastage. What they produce is what needs to be produced. We look at schools. We live in an era now where schools are connected, smart TVs. Students have smartphones. We have a choice. We can say to ourselves, let's not allow students to bring these devices of theirs to school. We will be pretending then that they do not have access to devices. It will be a misconception on our part to say that if we do not allow them to bring devices to schools, then they are safe and protected from the harms that these devices can bring. We need to encourage a new thinking. How do we be open with the students? How do we tell them that it's okay for you to have a smart device, but you need to know how to use it responsibly? You need to understand how powerful it is. You need to be able to use it to improve your life, to build around you, and to subsequently contribute to the nation. There is a need for us to shift the way we think. Government services. The Prime Minister has given me a task to digitalize the entire government. It will take time, but we are certainly moving along. The setting up of GovTech, ladies and gentlemen, hugely reliant on AI. So we come back to what it is I said before. The conversations need to start somewhere. We build infrastructure. We assure you that this infrastructure is secure. We ask you to come on board. We ask you to invest in our country. We give you this promise of us being leaders in technology moving ahead. All that will not materialize unless there is sufficient talent among our people and interest that develops in them so that they themselves adopt technology. They themselves are brave enough to take steps to test what new technology exists. We must start those conversations. We must understand where things are moving. We need to sit, have a team that discusses this with the academia, with the industry, businesses, government, all Malaysians and our friends in the region and globally. We need that unit to start telling us how it is we need to move ahead. Technology will develop fast. If we think we have seen chips that provide us immense compute power, yesterday I read about Google and the launch of Willow, a super chip that is much, much faster than what we have today. And it will keep changing as we go along. We need to prepare ourselves for the challenges ahead. This is why, Yang Amat Berhormat Prime Minister, there was a need for us to set up this office. An office that looks into how it is we can bolster innovation. We want to regulate, but we want to make sure that the industry has that space for it to develop. We want to make sure that there's collaboration. Whilst we build an ASEAN that is strong, we want to make sure that we are also connected to the rest of the world. There is collaboration with every country. We want to make sure that there is a governance structure involved, in place, whether it be by way of regulations. We may have to govern in terms of legislation, but we may also have to think about how it is we can set standards. The ISO, for example, you can't govern everything. There are sectors that will require legislation, but there will be sectors that do not require legislation. So this also is a conversation that must start. And ultimately, it really comes back to us building trust. People need to know that the government is on top of it. They are on top of things. They understand the benefits that technology brings, the risks that flow along at the same time, and how it is we as government need to balance it so that we can benefit from technology without sacrificing humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a long conversation that will move ahead. And at the end of the day, I think it is for us to make it happen. I must thank the Prime Minister for entrusting me with the Ministry of Digital. It's been a long year, but from scratch, I would say. Some people describe it as a startup ministry. Well, it is a startup ministry. But a startup ministry that has the backing of Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim will always succeed. And I must say, there were times when it was very difficult, and I remember reaching out to him, and immediately, things were done. I must thank you, Prime Minister, for giving me that support. I must also thank my team. The ministry was not built by me alone. It was a team effort. But there's a lot of work to do moving ahead. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us today start this journey. Let us accept the fact that AI will change everything. Technology will change everything. Let us accept the fact that we are prepared to do what it takes so that we can lead in this area as well. Let us look at the National AI Office as being that office that will facilitate this. Ensure that we develop, and we develop fast, on the right path, moving ahead. So Malaysia, let us together rise. The future is now. Thank you very much and have a pleasant day ahead.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat Minister, for your insightful and inspiring speech.